He urged members of the 12th Parliament to embrace technology and uphold discipline and proper conduct in communities they represent.
I want to read one, your level of debate and contribution on the floor will be a bit lacking.
Issues of diplomacy are of paramount importance, etiquette, both spoken and unspoken etiquette.
The 11th Parliament, which was led by Speaker Aneta Monk, faced criticism over the manner in which parliamentary business was conducted, as well as allegations related to corruption and misuse of public funds.
Everything, every resources, every single money was just managed by only one person, the Speaker of Parliament. You first kneel down.
The newly elected Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oboth, has taken the oath of office, laying out an ambitious 7-pillar agenda to clean up the legislature's image. However, political analysts and opposition lawmakers are already questioning whether he has the political muscle to deliver on these sweeping promises. Our reporter breaks down the Speaker's agenda and immediate skepticism trailing his entrance.
So help me God.
The Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Oboth, is promising a clean slate for legislature battered by public criticism. Stepping into office, Oboth unveiled a 7-pillar manifesto centered on transparency and institutional reforms. He stated zero tolerance to corruption, strengthened accountability, evidence-based debate, a people-centered legislature, results-based budgeting, an open parliament and proactive oversight. Chief among his pledges are a zero-tolerance policy toward corruption. But critics warn that executing this agenda will be a steep uphill battle.
The real first test of Oboth is going to be chairing the Appointments Committee approving ministers, and this should happen this maybe early next week. And then you will see the quality if that committee has changed.
Veteran lawmaker Ibrahim Samjunganda argues that Oboth is not an outsider in Parliament and warns against expecting radical changes.
It gotten worse under Aneta Monk. The rules were put aside. The Speaker was the Speaker, but also she was the rules. You vote yes, she says no. I don't think there's going to be a bigger change because Oboth has come in. He only can do the same bad things, but in a neater way.
He points directly to controversial parliamentary allocations, questioning if the Speaker has enough to return that abused money to the Treasury.
24 billion now, donation. It has a travel inland, 17 billion. It has bedding than something, 1.3. So you mean Oboth is going to take back that money to the Treasury?
Some lawmakers are, however, calling for patience, arguing that the burden of reform does not rest on the Speaker's shoulders alone. Kazo County Member of Parliament Dan Kimosha believes Oboth has the competence to guide the House if given room to breathe.
I want to give him a benefit of doubt, being a new person, and I strongly believe he's competent enough to steer that Parliament in the right direction.
Political analyst Godbatum Shabi states that Oboth inherits a parliament fractured by corruption and executive overreach, indicating that he will be judged entirely in his commitment to reform.
He's taking over a parliament that is really tattered in terms of reputation. Now, it is going to be interesting how Oboth operates as a Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda and not as a Pirao activist.
These have offered a timeline within which Oboth can receive a verdict on his promises, insisting they're skeptical on the pillars.
I would want to see, to follow his 100 days, his first 100 days, and say, what are those reforms that he has undertaken that fit within his 7-point agenda? Because talk alone is not going to change.
With the national budget largely dictated by the cabinet before it even reaches the floor for appropriation, observers say restoring power to the Parliamentary Budget Office will be crucial. All eyes now turn to Speaker Oboth's first 100 days to see if his 7 pillars will hold strong or crumble under political pressure.
Democratic Party President General and Laropete Division Member of Parliament Norbert Mao has defended his decision to contest for Speaker in Monday's election despite his party's alliance with the ruling NRM. He said he sought an opportunity to present his case before the NRM Central Executive Committee but was denied, which left him with no choice but to stand for speakership at Kololo.
Our only reason for doing it was so that Parliament could breathe, and Parliament is breathing.
The Democratic Party President General and Laropeche Division MP Norbert Mao has defended his decision to contest for Speaker in Monday's election, saying he was denied a chance to present his case before the NRM Central Executive Committee despite his party's alliance with the ruling NRM.
If I had been given a hearing by the NRM SEC and the caucus, definitely I wouldn't have showed up to present my candidature.
Flanked by 3 other DP MPs, Mao urged the new parliamentary leadership to institute a forensic audit on human resource and public funds over the last 5 years. He said evidence showed that nepotism and patronage had become the norm in recruitment at Parliament.
Only an inquiry will be able to establish who got jobs wrongly without being qualified, while those who are qualified are being bypassed. Those who are not qualified are being promoted. Nepotism was at its highest. A patronage system was set in place. I'm told many influential people got their children to get jobs in Parliament in exchange for their loyalty.
To improve the quality of debate, Mao proposed that committee reports should not be blocked by the presiding officer and that the opposition be given a chance to set the agenda occasionally instead of being on the defensive.
We are calling upon the new leadership of the Parliament as they strive to clean the image of Parliament. We call upon them not just to focus on the image. The focus should be on the substance of what Parliament is set up to do.
Mao also criticized the conduct of presiding officers in the 11th Parliament, saying they acted as judges on every submission rather than guiding debate.
We are interrupted like in no other Parliament that I know. You'll be shocked that if you went to the Hansard, you'll find that the presiding officers spoke more than the members of Parliament. Yet speakers are not supposed to speak in the same way that a referee does not kick the ball.
On his told constitutional amendments, Mao said the environment in the 11th Parliament was too hostile to advance them.
For too long, we have played the ostrich game, burying our heads in the sand, while Parliament collapses under the weight of an intimidated civil service in the Parliament. If you quietly interview the civil servants in the Parliament, they'll tell you that now they can breathe.
UPC President Jimmy James Akena has refuted claims that his party has a special arrangement with the ruling NRM that bars UPC members from contesting against NRM candidates in elective positions, including the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker races in Parliament. Akena's remarks follow criticism from President Yoweri Museveni, who faulted both UPC and Democratic Party for fielding candidates against the NRM despite what he described as an existing working relationship between the parties. Museveni said that he had not expected parties such as UPC and DP to challenge NRM candidates in the speakership race, arguing that the parties had previously cooperated politically with the ruling party.
During the inaugural sitting of the 12th Parliament, legislators convened to elect the Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Several political parties fronted candidates for the two positions, among them Norbert Mao of DP, who contested for Speaker, and UPC's Sarah Guti, who contested for Deputy Speaker. Although NRM candidates eventually secured both positions, President Yoweri Museveni openly expressed disappointment with UPC and DP for presenting rival candidates despite what he viewed as a cooperative political understanding with the ruling party.
I'm in alliance with Mao, but he took away my 15 votes. Then my son Akena, through the girl called Sarah, took another 14 votes.
However, UPC Party President Jimmy Akena rejected the assertions that UPC has ever entered into an agreement with NRM, requiring the party to refrain from challenging NRM candidates in competitive elections.
Alliance, as far as I'm concerned, does not mean I cannot field a candidate. And when I choose to field a candidate, I will field my candidate and I'll support my candidate. And I do not need permission to do so. And that is something which often the president does not seem to appreciate.
Akena argues that common ground between parties such as UPC, DP and NRM is central on national development and governance, not political surrender or forfeiture of democratic competition. He acknowledged that UPC has on several occasions worked with other political actors on issues of national importance, but stressed that such engagements have never translated into a binding political alliance that prevents UPC members from contesting for office.
And for me, the question of fielding candidates is not something which is negotiable. If the alliance assumes that we cannot field candidates, that is not alliance, that's subjugation. I am not into politics of subjugation.
However, the NRM Secretary General Richard Todong defended President Museveni's position, describing this as an unfortunate decision by UPC and DP to field candidates against the ruling party.
That was not a good gesture because they all knew that the NRM being the majority in parliament, definitely they are supposed to front a candidate for speaker and for deputy speaker.
Todong expressed optimism that despite the disagreements witnessed during the parliamentary elections, NRM, UPC and DP could still rebuild and strengthen their working relationship moving forward.
The National Resistance Movement Party is open to continue polishing a relationship with the other parties. Our doors are open. What happened at Kolo does not close doors for us to compete with any party. We shall be cooperating with them and we shall be engaging each other.
Let's get back to the breaking story tonight of the new cabinet list that's just been released just 1 minute past 8 p.m. by President Yoweri Museveni on his X-handle. We're now joined by political analyst Professor Rogers Bargayomwe to discuss this conversation and how it's shaping. Prof, many thanks for joining us this evening. We've just seen the cabinet list. Many members of parliament who have been ministers have been dropped. You have retired General Moses Ali, long-serving Minister Matia Kasaija, Ruth Nankabirwa, Godfrey Kabyanga, General David Muhoozi, Raphael Majezi, Evelyn Anite, Kenneth Omona, all dropped as ministers, and you have new people in these positions while others have been redeployed. Your 2 cents on the new cabinet list.
Yeah, the new cabinet, you can see that from the present mind, it brings new energy and drops, of course, what we call excess old energy like Kasheja. People like Moses Ali didn't need to appear. And when you bring the new stock like Namere, you read into the president because he knows these are people who can defend him in the youth. You see people like Baram have even more interesting ministries. And some, of course, disappointing figures like David Muhoozi, who you would think was one of instrumental and sober ministers. But, of course, in this case, we read the politics of NRM and the PLU issues. And basically, then we see Janet Museveni holding to the Ministry of Education. Very interesting. So basically, it's an interesting kind of cabinet, which I believe will deliver, but it is energized, and there are some members who are held like to maintain the conservativeness of the NRM.
Right. When you look at some names like Justin Namere, you look at the names that are new now on the list. I've been looking at some of these names like Sanjay Itana. You have Simwe Jonad, who is a SEC member. You have Adonia Yebare, Lydia Wanyoto, Susan Nakauchi. What does that say? Reward for political mobilization?
Definitely so, because people like Namere, Nakauchi are people President Museveni wants to use to bring back Buganda on board, and he has brought the real cadre, aggressive cadres who can take on members of the NUP, in that is Namere and Unaka, which can do those kind of politics. And when you see Ayebare, Adoni Ayebare is to repair the broken kind of international relation. Ayebare is a good diplomat in that. And he wants to do damage control, especially in this period where Uganda's credibility is being doubted internationally. And controversially, I see Muganga, doctor, in internal affairs. Very interesting, surprising. I don't know how he will manage the internal affairs. It looks so strong for him. But we are waiting to see how the operation will go. Right.
And lastly, my question to you is on, do you see the hand of PLU chairman, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, in some of these appointments, and to what extent?
Yeah, from the past cabinet, we are seeing that PLU, the hand of its chairman, Muhoozi, is strongly favored in this new cabinet, and his sympathizers have increased in number and in key positions. So it is very interesting in the transitional cabinet. We are seeing that it is strongly on his side and PLU side, and the political players should watch this keenly because it seems this is to strengthen his base on Uganda politics.
Interesting analysis right there, Professor Rogers Bargayumwe. Many thanks for speaking to us tonight.
Pleasure.
Let's take a look at some of the new faces in cabinet and those that have been dropped. We'll begin with the new faces in cabinet as we speak today. We have Ambassador Adonia Ayebare, who has been appointed as Minister for Foreign Affairs. Ambassador Adonia Ayebare has been Uganda's permanent representative to the UN. You have Dr. Lawrence Muganga, who has been serving as the Vice Chancellor of Victoria University, bounces to cabinet. Rather, is appointed to cabinet as the State Minister for Internal Affairs. And then you have the Minister of State for Information, Communications, Technology and National Guidance. That is Honorable Alioni Yorke Odria. He has been appointed. He first showed interest in the speakership race, and then I can see now that the President has appointed him Minister of State of ICT and National Guidance. Calvin Echodu right there has also been appointed. He's a SEC member and he does represent, that is Eastern Uganda in SEC. And then Minister of Health, you have right there Charles Ayume, who gets to cabinet, and it's big man from Koboko, who has been chairing the Health Committee in Parliament and has now been appointed under the Health Ministry. You have Justin Namere right there, also quite an interesting character who has also now been appointed to cabinet. These are some of the new faces, and according to the analysis we just had there, we see that these have been NRM cadres. You have Shatsi Musherure, who is also going into the docket of the Ministry of Finance. Shatsi has been Member of Parliament previously, serving in Sembabule in Maogola North, and she was talked out of the race to allow Aine Kaguta to go through run election according to that agreement. The Honorable Chris Baryomunsi, doctor, does leave ICT to go to Ministry of Health. Let's also take a look at some of the ministers who have been dropped. Minister of State for Internal Affairs has been serving for this other cabinet, just been outgoing. General David Muhoozi right there has also been dropped. Godfrey Kabyango has been Minister of State for ICT and National Guidance, has also not made it to the list. Raphael Majezi, man who has been in charge of local government, has also not made it to the list. Some new faces have bounced, some new faces have been reappointed, others reassigned. Ruth Nankabirwa, the lady who has been in charge for energy, Ministry of Energy and the Energy Docket and Mineral Development right there, she's also now been appointed as Senior Presidential Advisor. Long-serving Finance Minister Matia Kasaija has also not made it to the list for the very first time in many years. Retired General Moses Ali, who has been second deputy prime minister and also one of the longest serving ministers right there in Uganda's Museveni's interim government, has not made it to the list of the cabinet. Let's take a look at your feedback on our opinion question.
Feedback brought to you by. They are designed to support your growth. Visit absa.co.ug for personal loans that help where it matters. ABSA, your story matters.
Take a look at your feedback on our opinion question. How can the Speaker ensure that his 7 pillars are followed and embraced by all? Hashtag NBS Live at 9. We get to the first comment. Adonia Muereza, remaining impartial, promoting discipline and respect, giving equal opportunity to members, encouraging accountability and transparency, applying sanctions to those who violate House standards. I beg to submit. Thank you very much, Adonia, for your submission. Mvidi Godfrey says he shouldn't be biased about the opposition MPs. He should be a down-to-earth speaker as he could have been. He should give adequate debating time to all MPs, especially those who are joining Parliament for the first time. Derek Aim Tadema says, lead by example. The Speaker must personally demonstrate the values within the 7 pillars through integrity, discipline, fairness, and professionalism. Members are more likely to embrace principles they consistently see practiced at the top. NBS Live at 9 takes a break. We'll be back here with more stories making headlines tonight.
In a fast-moving world, why are we still stuck with paperwork? Signing here, stamping there, moving from office to office. It's exhausting. Now, there's a better way. With UG Pass, you can securely prove your identity, sign documents, and access government services anytime, anywhere. No delays, no stress. Everything is instant, safe, secure, and government-backed. UG Pass, your identity secured. Available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. UG Pass is a product of NITA Uganda.
Cooking all that makes food sweet. Tastes so good like mama's keys. Sweet Tamasana, yeah. Stir God, it's the oil you cooking oil for a tasty meal to live a healthy, happy life. Stir God, refined, fortified, blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Please fasten your seatbelts. We're in for a thrilling ride. Flight time will be non-stop until the buzzer, and we'll be cruising above the rim. Temperature on the court will be hot with unexpected cold moves. Cabin crew, we're cleared for season 6 tip-off. It's takeoff time. BAL, rise with the game.
If whiskey could talk, Johnny Walker Black Label would sing. With notes that only come with 12 years in a barrel. Sweet, smooth toffee, rich fruit, and a touch of smoke. Tastes as good as it sounds.
Sorry, the number you have called is currently switched off. Please try again later.
The Kamani is not picking up my calls. He has now switched off his phone. He looked legit, so I paid him 500K to process my NSSF money. How dare you?
All right, listen up. Colgate is on a mission.
It's kind of a big thing.
Colgate Herbal uses traditional nature's herbs and combines it with Colgate Science for healthy gums and strong teeth.
Colgate Charcoal Gentle Clean cleans and polishes teeth for a whiter smile and a naturally fresh and clean mouth. Choose natural. Choose Colgate Charcoal.
For decades, ticks and tick-borne diseases.
Alliance for National Transformation National Coordinator and former presidential candidate, retired General Gregory Mugisha Muntu has challenged the government to strengthen systems in fighting corruption, not individual targets which appear selective. Muntu asserts that funding institutions that fight corruption and recruiting incorruptible people is key to fighting corruption.
With government and President Yoweri Museveni fighting against corruption under the term Chisanja No More Sleep, the former presidential candidate and national coordinator for the Alliance for National Transformation, General Mugisha Muntu, has described the fight as discriminatory and a knee-jerk reaction.
Corruption is systemic, it's so deeply rooted, it's even infiltrated the consciousness of the population and the country for that matter. And therefore, anybody to fight against corruption, you cannot claim to be fighting corruption when you do it, in a knee-jerk reaction, and also to use it in a discriminate way.
Muntu argues that if the fight was genuine, focus should have been on funding and strengthening systems and institutions like the CID, IGG, and cracking whip on the judiciary.
Because there is no way you can fight corruption in a systematic way without plugging the loopholes that there are in the judiciary, in the prosecutions department, CID, and IGG. Anybody who is serious who's going to fight, and then the power that they are given, so that if they find that someone is involved in corruption, that they have a free hand to investigate anybody in any office. It doesn't matter whether you are the head of the police, the head of, you are a minister, you are a head of the army, or whatever.
According to the two times presidential candidate, it's the corrupt purging the corrupt, which is not sustainable, warning that the truth has a way of unearthing what is covered.
It's amazing when you find the corrupt purging the corrupt. But we will wait. We'll see where that ends.
On the new parliamentary leadership of Speaker and Deputy Speaker, Muntu calls for transparency and accountable leadership, emphasizing that when the culture doesn't change, then there will be new faces, but with similar past mistakes of the previous leaders.
If they change the direction, they would make impact. But if they operate within the culture that has been there, it will just simply be change of faces, that's all. Because the culture is the issue. Do we see transparency? Or do we see manipulation and deception continue? Do we see truth being put forward so that it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor?
It is the Ministry of Health that has cautioned the healthcare workers against moving from one hospital to the next as the country works to contain ongoing Ebola outbreak. Health officials say some health workers who come into contact with affected and infected patients have since tested positive for Ebola, raising fears of further transmission within healthcare facilities and communities.
The Minister of Health says the Ebola outbreak in Uganda is linked to the wider Ebola situation in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, where the Bundibugyo strain of the virus continues to spread. According to the World Health Organization, Uganda has confirmed 7 Ebola cases in the recent days, including infections involving healthcare workers and individuals who had contact to the patients arriving from Congo.
Our numbers remain 7. Those are the confirmed cases. One case 2, or one of the cases has been discharged from the treatment unit, which means she's no longer Ebola positive. And there are 4 patients in the treatment centers, and then definitely we have a fatality.
Medical experts are warning that health workers who move between hospitals without proper monitoring could unintentionally increase the risk of transmission.
Closing and quarantining facilities, that's really the last end of it. So we will want to first work with the management of these institutions, and if we want to see what was the flow of the patients and see what the level of exposure, and that's when we'll be able to make such decisions. But for now, we would want that we do decontamination, we do disinfecting, and then services continue.
Health officials say isolation units are being expanded in selected areas, while contact tracing teams continue to monitor people who have been exposed.
The contacts, all of them, we know them. The high-risk contacts are in quarantine, and that's where we have been able so far to pick the cases where which have turned positive. We pick them from the constants.
Authorities in Uganda are encouraging the public to remain calm but vigilant, to immediately report symptoms such as fever, vomiting, bleeding, or severe weakness to the nearest health facility.
We need only the public to cooperate with us, report to the health facility as early as possible. And in the last outbreak, all the Ebola cases which we got, none of them died. So it means that if we are able to get you early, then we can be able to manage you.
The Ministry of Health says that screening at border points and major health facilities has been intensified as Uganda works closely with regional and international partners to prevent further spread of the virus.
Attention definitely now turns to the appointment of government ministers. We look at the performance of some of the regional ministers with barely a budget of 5 billion per financial year. Our attention is on the docket of Northern Uganda and if it has met the expectations of the common man in the region.
To say there's value for money.
In 2023, the then Minister Dr. Kenneth Omona was appointed Minister in charge of Northern Uganda, replacing Grace Freedom Kweitwin, who had held the docket for about 5 years. As an affirmative action, the ministry was created to ease and bring closer government services to the people and covered Lao, Acholi, West Nile, part of Karamoja and Bunyoro, and Bukedi. One big question is on the impact of this ministry.
It's a good thing, theoretically, but in practice, it's not. And I can tell you for a fact that until our state minister for Northern Uganda started talking about the Balalo issue, when the commander-in-chief made those pronouncements, he was barely known outside of Northern Uganda.
So Northern Uganda is a huge entity that needs a full cabinet position.
Some of these ministries, they are not supported. Now, when you are not supported, how will you do your work ably? This ministry, they need to strengthen them. They need to support them.
Legislators from Acholi sub-region weigh in on the merit and relevance of this ministry. As they await the next appointment, they want government to streamline it to avoid wastage of public resources.
Because it has created a lot of confusion. For example, we are now handling the issue of NUSAF 4. When they call it Northern Uganda in NUSAF 4, it includes Bunyoro, it includes Karamoja, it includes Teso. They are all Northern Uganda. Now you realize that within Northern Uganda, there is a cabinet ministry for Karamoja only. And you wonder.
Those ministries, they normally create more expenses to the government. what they do is almost the same. The office of the Prime Minister normally looks at or supervises all the ministries in charge of regional affairs. Therefore, instead of creating so many ministries, wasting government resources, why not to consolidate?
The president is set to appoint new faces in the cabinet after yesterday's speakership election. The mystery is what will become of the regional ministry and what impact it will have this time.
The Managing Director for the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, Patrick Ayota, has unveiled an ambitious plan to double the fund's membership from 3.5 million to 7 million by 2035 as the institution intensifies efforts to expand social security coverage and modernize service delivery. Ayota announced the target while addressing suppliers and stakeholders at the NSSF 2026 Suppliers Forum, an engagement centered on the fund's long-term transformation agenda and what he described as Vision 2035.
Speaking at the 2026 National Social Security Fund Suppliers Forum in Kampala, Managing Director Patrick Ayota said the fund is investing heavily in digital transformation to improve efficiency and enhance customer experience with a focus on reducing delays and bureaucratic processes in service delivery.
We want to have our membership move from at least the 3.5 million members today to 15 million members by 2035. We call it our 50% coverage.
He noted that trust is central to the sustainability of any pension scheme, saying members will only continue contributing if they are confident that their savings are secure and well managed.
Whether you're a member, whether you're a staff, whether you're a stakeholder, the level of services we offer you has to be such that you can give us a rating of 95%. This is our strategic objective. 2035, that's exactly what we want to go.
NSSF Chief Procurement and Disposal Officer Dan Mogura revealed that NSSF currently works with more than 1,000 suppliers, contractors, and service providers across its operations, including major real estate developments.
We have our consultants, we have our suppliers and other service providers in furniture, in all these supplies. We have over 1,000 supply base.
Speaking at the same forum, Moses Ojambo, Director for Performance Monitoring, Regional Offices at the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets Authority, said procurement should no longer be viewed only as a process of acquiring goods and services, but as a strategic tool for driving inclusive economic growth.
We need many providers on board because our requirements are different, and therefore the capacities of the providers may also be different. Not all of you can bid for a similar job because you have different competences and also special.
The United States said it launched new strikes on southern Iran, targeting Iranian missile sites and boats attempting to place mines. The strikes were taken in self-defense and were designed to protect U.S. troops from threats posed by Iranian forces. U.S. Central Command said in a statement. Central Command spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins said the U.S. military continues to defend its forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire between the two countries. Iran is yet to respond to U.S. attack. However, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai earlier said that while some progress had been made in talks to end the war, the deal is not imminent. It is unclear what impact the strikes will have on any potential peace agreement between the United States and Iran. Following the strikes, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said a deal was still possible and pointed to talks on Tuesday between Iran's top negotiator and foreign minister and Qatar's prime minister. He said President Donald Trump had expressed his desire to make it. Asked again later about Monday's strikes, Marco Rubio said the straits have to be open. They are going to be open one way or the other, so they need to be open. What's happening there is unlawful, it's illegal and unacceptable and unsustainable for the world as it is much some news at the moment.
More to come. Brought to you by
Blended pure vegetable cooking oil, second best to a mother's love.
The Ministry of Finance has defended the country's economic direction in its newly released post-election and economic as well as fiscal update. By the way, it also has a new minister.
And that's it for today. Till the next episode.
Like a daily bando, like a daily bando, like a daily bando. Omuliro nguwulira muli mumutima kukankana like drums. Kalakata, kalakata, endungu ya kusabula. We gonna do free of fire, free of fire, free of
In a world that's always changing, the foundations of trust must stay strong. For over 60 years, we've built the minds that build trust, shaping the professionals who carry confidence into boardrooms, communities, and lives. Because trust doesn't happen by chance, it's built, tested, and taught. As the world moves forward, so do we, blending data, innovation, and human insight to prepare the next generation of industry leaders.
Insurance Training College in Uganda, enhancing professionalism.
How do you make a party? You take time to prepare, to bring all the pieces together, to craft it right. The result, great refreshment. And that makes it time well spent. Club, brewed longer for longer refreshment.
Weekend yetu sina yeto inagafumba. You got Glovo. Oinacheweta mukatale tofayo. You got Glovo. If you're having a celebration, you got Glovo. You can order what you want. You can get what you need. You got Glovo. You got it all. You got Glovo. Download the app. Order with Glovo. Track it minute by minute until you receive it in minutes.
Your uncle wants you to get a loan. He says you should buy a beamer to stop embarrassing him in front of his friends with your malnourished.